Okay, we're thinking about big ideas and big questions for our Lit Fest this year. In fact, we're thinking around the world, thinking global. So, here's one question for you. How does literacy help shape your world?
Well, literacy, if you're talking about my own
Mhm.
reading, is incredibly important to me. When I was a small child, I lived in a very little village and we had a bookmobile that would come. We had to go 20 miles to the library. So the bookmobile would come on Thursdays. And I remember we would wait for it to come down the road and I would run in and we would choose the different books. And that was on always on a Thursday in the summer. And by Saturday, I had read all the books. But I was so excited to get new books. And I remember actually, again, I said I grew up in a small town, and we had a very tiny school library. And by the age of 11, I told my teacher I'd read every book in the library. That's how small it was. It wasn't that big. It wasn't like this beautiful library. And then they would choose books for me, and I would start to read them. So it simply changed my world because to me, the most exciting thing to do, even when we had big family parties, I couldn't wait to sneak off to my bedroom and lie down on the bed and read. So it shaped my world in engaging me in how how you can get out of the world. Not that my childhood
Yeah,
needed to get out of, but how you could go in everywhere. Everything was available to you if you could read.
that's wonderful. Yes. So, was there a favorite book or a story or a piece of art that you remember that really opened up your world when you were growing up?
Well, I do have a book on art that reflects back to a couple of experiences in my childhood. We were always taken to museums when I was a child, and I remember, well, two things. Number one of the images in my book that I have over here, the
Hmm.
masterpiece mix, and I put it in my book on purpose because it was personal. The um, Breezing Up by Winslow Homer was on my our dining room wall, not the real painting because that's too expensive, but a print of it. And all my life, I would look up at it, and we. I grew up in an area on the Chesapeake Bay which had boats, and we had
Hmm.
boats. So I would just imagine and make up stories about the sail, them sailing in the storm. And I put that in my book, which is kind of a fun personal thing. And also in the book, there's a painting of Fragonard's Girl Reading. And in my
Mm.
big picture in the book, you'll see it on the library, which
Yes,
makes
just
sense.
holding that book.
And when that painting, all those paintings are from the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. And that painting, when that painting was purchased by the National Gallery of Art, it was a big deal, and it was in the Washington Post. There was like the Mona Lisa, like, the gallery bought this painting, and we made a 2-hour round trip just to view that painting. And I remember my parents, I always thought it was so cool that their priorities were such that they would drive their children just to the gallery just to see one painting. So it
Wow.
made a huge impact on me
Yeah,
about how important art is.
that's fantastic. And you're right. There's so many ways we can get stories. The more we look around us, the more stories we find, whether it's a picture or a story or a book or something you listen to or watch. I love that stories are alive like that.
And also, children, I also did a book about one of my relatives, and of course, these are personal stories. So the thing is, children, everyone, you, the children, the teachers, everyone has personal stories, and a lot of times they can be very interesting.
Yes. So share your stories, share the world. Thank you.